Welcome to Moon and Fire. I'm Emily Bailey, founder of Whole and Wild, where I guide women back to their sacred wisdom through ritual and cyclical living. I'm creating this sacred space for your whole self to be here. Your wisdom, your shadows, your longings, and your fierce power. This is a podcast for women who sense there's more depth, more magic, more of their untamed essence waiting to be remembered and unleashed. Welcome home, sacred woman. Let's begin. Today I want to talk about something that makes many women uncomfortable, something we've been taught to suppress, smooth over, or apologize for: our anger. But not just any anger. I want to explore the profound difference between what I call holy rage and petty anger, and why understanding this distinction might be one of the most important gifts you can give yourself and the world. I believe deeply that all of you belongs. Every emotion, every impulse, every fierce and tender part of your being has a place in the wholeness of who you are. Often, the parts of ourselves we believe will be most threatening, the parts we shove into our shadow and cast out, are actually the very aspects required for a most potent joy and flourishing to unfold. Before we dive into anger specifically, I want to establish something fundamental. All emotions are valuable. Every feeling carries information. Every emotional response holds wisdom. Every surge of energy through our system is trying to tell you something important about your experience. The question isn't whether we should feel anger, or any emotion for that matter. The question is how we steward these powerful energies, how we express them, and whether we allow them to serve our highest good and the good of those around us. There are mature and immature ways to express and steward every emotion. There's a difference between feeling sadness and wallowing in it for months without allowing it to move through you. There's a distinction between experiencing joy and using it to avoid necessary growth. And yes, there's a profound difference between honoring your anger as sacred information and using it to inflict harm. Anger, in particular, has gotten a bad reputation in women's lives. We've been taught that nice girls don't get angry, that anger makes us ugly, that expressing rage makes us difficult and threatening. But what if I told you that some of the most transformative moments in history came from women who were willing to channel their righteous fury toward justice, protection, and positive change? Not all anger is created equal. There is a spectrum that ranges from what I call sacred rage down to what becomes toxic spewing. And learning to discern where anger falls on this spectrum is crucial to our growth and impact. At the holy end of the spectrum, we have righteous fury, the kind of anger that arises when we witness injustice, when something precious is being threatened, when truth is being suppressed. This is divine indignation, sacred rage, the kind of holy fire that burns away what's false and makes room for what's true. Think of the fierce protection of a mother whose child is in danger. Consider the prophetic anger of women throughout history who refused to accept systems that diminished human dignity. Picture the justice-seeking wrath that has fueled every major social movement. This is anger in service to love, fury that serves something greater than the self. This holy fire is meant to be disruptive. It's designed to shake things up, to challenge what's not working, to refuse to accept the unacceptable. And yes, this can feel scary, both to experience and to witness, because true sacred rage doesn't just want to complain. It demands change. Moving down the spectrum, we find purposeful anger, focused outrage that sees a problem and wants to solve it. Channeled fury that can be directed towards constructive action. Motivated anger that has a clear target and intention. In the middle, we encounter what I call transitional anger. These moments when we're heated and frustrated, but haven't yet discerned whether this energy wants to serve a higher purpose or simply discharge itself. This is simmering anger, building pressure that could go either direction depending on how we steward it. And at the shadow end of the spectrum, we find petty anger, the kind that wants to blame, to tear down without building up, to vent without purpose. This might show up as entitled rage that believes the world should conform to our preferences, or as destructive venting that harms relationships without creating positive change. So here's what I want you to understand. Anger is meant to be disruptive. That's not a bug in the system. It's a feature. Anger arises precisely when something needs to be shaken up, when the status quo isn't serving, when boundaries have been crossed or truth has been suppressed. The question isn't how to make your anger less disruptive. The question is how to ensure that your anger disrupts what needs disrupting rather than what should be protected. Holy rage disrupts unjust systems. It challenges deceptive constructs. It refuses to accept harm masquerading as normal. It creates the kind of beneficial chaos that allows truth and justice to surface. Sacred fury says, this is not acceptable. This ends now. Something better is possible, and I will not rest until we create it. This is the anger that burns away blind spots, both in ourselves and in the world around us. It's purifying fire that clears space for new growth. It's fierce protection that creates safety for the vulnerable. Petty anger, on the other hand, tends to disrupt what's working. It tears down without building up. It damages relationships without creating positive change. It vents frustration without channeling that energy toward solutions. The key is learning to distinguish between these expressions and choosing to steward our anger toward the sacred end of the spectrum. So how do we steward our anger in healthy ways? How do we honor this powerful emotion while ensuring that it serves our highest good? First, we pause and locate the source. When anger arises, take a moment and ask, what is this anger trying to protect? What injustice is it highlighting? What boundary has been crossed? Sometimes our anger is pointing to something systemic that needs addressing. Sometimes it's revealing a personal boundary that needs strengthening. Sometimes it's highlighting a truth that we've been avoiding. Second, we distinguish between righteous fury and petty irritation. Ask yourself, is this anger serving something greater than my personal comfort? Is it pointing toward necessary change? Or am I simply frustrated that things aren't going my way? Third, we choose our expression consciously. Sacred rage might call for clear communication, firm boundaries, and organized action. It might require us to speak truth that others don't want to hear. It might demand that we step into our power in ways that feel uncomfortable. Petty anger, on the other hand, often just wants to discharge, to blame, to complain, to make others wrong. Recognizing this distinction helps us pause before we cause harm with our expression. Let me share a simple ritual you can use when you feel anger arising to help you locate your holy rage and channel it toward good. When you notice anger building, find a private space where you can move and breathe freely. Place your feet firmly on the ground and take 3 deep breaths, feeling your connection to the earth. Place one hand on your heart and one on your belly. Ask your anger, what are you trying to protect? What injustice are you revealing? What needs to change? Listen not just with your mind, but with your body. Notice where you feel the energy of this anger. Does it burn in your chest like righteous fury? Does it clench in your jaw like petty frustration? Does it flow through your arms like mama bear fierce protection? Now speak aloud to your anger. I see you. I honor the wisdom you carry. I commit to stewarding your energy in service of what's good and true. If this feels like sacred rage, if it's pointing toward real injustice or necessary change, ask, how can I channel this energy constructively? What action does this anger want me to take? How can I use this fire to serve something greater than myself? If this feels more like petty irritation, if you're honest enough to recognize that it's mainly about your personal comfort or preferences, ask, what do I need to process this energy without causing harm? How can I discharge this frustration in healthy ways? Close by placing both hands on your heart and saying, I am capable of stewarding my emotions wisely. I choose to let my anger serve love. As we come to the close of our time together, I want to remind you that learning to steward your anger, to distinguish between sacred rage and petty frustration, to channel your fury toward justice rather than destruction, is a practice, not a perfection. You will have moments that your anger gets the better of you, when you react from petty irritation rather than respond from your sacred knowing. This doesn't make you a bad person, it makes you human. The key is coming back to conscious choice again and again. Because the world actually really needs your holy rage. It needs women who are willing to feel the full force of righteous fury when injustice occurs, who can channel that energy into positive change, who refuse to accept what's unacceptable simply because it's uncomfortable to disrupt it. Your anger isn't something to be ashamed of or suppress. When stewarded wisely, it's one of the most powerful tools you have for creating the changes this world desperately needs. So here's my blessing for you today. May you trust the wisdom of your righteous fury. May you steward your sacred rage with consciousness. May you let your anger serve love and justice. And may you never apologize for the holy fire that burns for what's right. Remember the sacred cycles. Reclaim your radiant fire. Unleash your intuitive magic. Thank you so much for being here, sacred woman. Until next time.